Let it show!
Oh man, we're here on Don't Copy That Floppy. There is such a delay on this broadcast, I have no idea if our sound effect worked.
Well, hopefully you all heard that we're about to kick shell, and in case you didn't, well, I can't really do anything in case you didn't, but I hope you did.
So hey there, audience, welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, your weekly video game news podcast, public service announcement things, you know.
On chipit.net,
On
Chipit Radio.
Yeah, you can listen to us, if you're not already, somehow, by going to chipit.net. You can either play the on-site player, or you can download a playlist file. You can play it on iTunes if that's easier for you. I know that's what I typically do, because it's just easier to have that all in one place. And you can find us on Facebook. Don't Copy That Floppy. Please like us on Facebook. That'd be great.
And Twitter now, too.
Yeah, at DCTF Podcast.
That's the one.
That's the one. Follow us on Twitter, please. We'll love you forever.
Yep. So, here's what we got going on today.
Oh, so many articles. So much DLC.
So much DLC. We're going to talk about Cliffy B. We talked about him on our last show on Monday. We're going to talk more about Cliffy B, because more info has come to light about him and his new studio. We're going to talk a little bit about Gearbox and their new upcoming game, Battleborn. We got a little article about Sony adding some peripheral programs to the PS4. One about GameStop that sounds just awful. And then a bunch of stuff about DLC for Alien Isolation, The Evil Within, Bungie fans being betrayed about Destiny.
Particularly Destiny's DLC.
Destiny's DLC. And then a little bit of information about No Man's Sky, and something I never expected would come up again, Project Spark. For the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And then we will end off with talking about some upcoming titles, although we probably won't talk about much, because there's not a whole lot coming out anytime soon.
Oh, that summer drought.
Yeah, and do you have a review for us this week, Lex?
I kind of just want to talk about Broforce.
Okay.
Even though it's not officially out yet, so it won't be an official review.
Do like a pre-review.
I'm going to talk about my impressions.
A preview.
A preview.
We can invent our own new word for it. Preview.
Excellent.
Excellent.
We're pioneers.
We're pioneers.
Speaking of someone who's really going off in bold new directions.
Oh, Cliffy B.
Cliffy B.
Cliffy B, on the 8th, announced what his new game would be from his new studio. What's his? It's Boss Key Productions, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
His new game that's going to be entitled Blue Streak, and it is going to be a free-to-play sci-fi arena shooter.
So something very new for Cliffy B.
Oh, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Cliffy B made Unreal Tournament.
And that's probably all we should need to say regarding the joke we just made.
Like, who's the premier developer of sci-fi arena shooters? Turns out it's Cliffy B.
Cliffy B and, like, John Carmack,
that's
basically.
True.
Although John Carmack does all sorts of other stuff, too. But, yeah, so, I mean, good on you, Cliffy, for sticking to what you know, in a sense.
The thing that's different for Cliffy B is the free-to-play thing.
Yes.
Now, I know that while Cliffy B was retired, when there were big internet feuds about microtransactions, he had come out on Twitter and said, hey, you guys, microtransactions are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's now making a game that will probably have a bunch of microtransactions shouldn't surprise anyone.
Yeah. I don't like it, though. I must say.
I can go either way on microtransactions depending on how they're implemented.
Yeah.
I've definitely played games in which they're implemented in non-obtrusive ways and they're fine. And then I've played games where they're like, you have to pay to not suck in the game, and that's horrible.
Right.
And I would hope that Cliffy B has the good grace to know which is which.
Hopefully.
So hopefully. But specifically, the big news, in addition to his announcement of Blue Streak, comes from a Forbes article from the 8th.
Also
July 8th. Yeah, because I think it was like that morning he announced it, and then later in the day, like, this other news broke.
Yep.
So the free-to-play giant Nexon acquires a stake in the Boss Key Studios and global distribution rights to Blue Streak itself. So for those who don't know Nexon, they are the guys behind MapleStory. And
which is big.
yeah, in terms of like the free-to-play, yeah, it's so big. What was the other one? It said it in this article and I can't find it. But, I mean, MapleStory is all you really need to know.
Yeah.
They're I believe, a South Korean company.
Well, they're probably not North Korean.
Yeah. But they've had a lot of success because the free-to-play model in Asia is really widely accepted.
It's big, and mobile gaming is super huge over there now, too.
Yeah.
It's been gaining ground, so...
So it's definitely like the place where they can make money, and I think they're seeing... my assumption here, this is total conjecture, but I'm assuming that Nexon is seeing what's going on with esports and look back at Unreal Tournament stuff, and they're like, this is a game that if it came out today would totally be used in esports.
Right.
And he wants to make it free to play, which is something that we already deal with, and we know that like South Korea is really big into esports. Asia in general is, but specifically South Korea.
Yeah.
So they got a whole lot of money signs in their eyes. and I think they're totally fair in assuming that, because I feel like a lot of the times when you see free to play shooters and stuff like that come out, they're usually from like studios that we don't know as well and developers we've never heard of and stuff like that. And then when they're bad, we're just like, well, what if someone who actually knew how to make these kind of games was making them?
Yeah.
And now someone who knows how to make these kind of games is going to make one.
At the same time, I kind of wish Cliffy B was working on something, I don't know, bigger? Something more impressive, I guess. Although I haven't really seen Blue Streak yet.
See, that's the other thing.
But when I hear free to play, I don't think particularly like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Or anything. But he's a good developer. He knows what he's doing. And so I feel like it's almost wasting potential.
Well, the other thing is, because we know that it's his new studio, it's not a big studio because it's just starting. Yeah. So I think that an argument...
Maybe they'll go somewhere else from here?
Yeah, so I think the argument can be made that even if the sort of stereotype of free-to-play games being smaller-scale games, even if that holds to be true, it would make sense because we would assume a smaller studio would be trying to make a smaller-scale game.
Yeah. And I suppose, given that he's already said he's making a sci-fi arena shooter again, he's not really looking to revolutionize anything here. So, which is kind of a shame, but oh well. I at the same time, I would almost assume that even if it's a smaller studio, being part of a small studio, or the founder of a small studio, would give him more creative freedom anyway, to do something, like, different, but he's not. So, oh well.
Do you want to... I got some quotes from him from that article.
Yeah.
So, creating fun and memorable shooters is in my DNA. Well, I wouldn't argue with that. No. And making the move to free-to-play games is all about maximizing the potential audience for your title while embracing where the industry is headed.
I'm sorry, I don't like that quote.
Yeah, no one knows the free-to-play market better than Nexon. Well, that's true. Yeah. Which is why they were the obvious partner to publish Blue Streak. It's a game and concept I think will really resonate with players who have been clamoring for a new take on an old favorite. After all, I've had a year and a half to plan it. Yeah. It is fair that he's had a lot of time to plan it. Right. But yeah, that initial statement he made where he was like...
That just comes off as so, like...
This is where the industry is headed, Dan.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, well, maybe it is, but we really wish it wasn't, and wish developers would stop embracing this idea.
To me, that seems like him just saying, well, this is where the money is, so I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
And make a decent enough game. And I don't... Part of me... I really don't like... I feel like I should like this term, but I really don't like the term maximizing the potential audience for a game. Because to me, that reads as cheapening the game so that anybody can play and enjoy it. Yeah. Rather than going for a specific vision and following through on it and making something special.
Yeah, I mean, every time when we see in other titles... sort of like when they lower ratings and stuff, which is something we're going to talk about later in another article.
It's makes sure that it sells to a wider audience.
And then you have to
compromising artistic integrity of the game.
And this is another thing where I think games are like movies now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's been happening in movies forever.
Transformers 4 selling like hotcakes right now. Lord knows that movie's not good.
That movie's free to play, did you know? But there are a lot of microtransactions. If you can play Shia
You
LaBeouf...
lose a small part of your soul every time you watch it.
You can play Shia LaBeouf if you want, but you have to pay.
You gotta pay.
You gotta pay.
Can you imagine if you could go see that movie and just pay if you didn't want to see Marky Mark and wanted to see Shia LaBeouf instead? And it would just switch for you?
No one would do that.
No one would do that.
Man, that would be weird if movies started doing stuff like that.
That would be super interesting. It's too bad this isn't a podcast about movies.
Too bad.
We're going to get so many IGN articles into all of our news every week if we talked about movies. That's like all they ever talk about on there.
That's why IGN always talks about movies, because they realize that's how they could maximize their potential audience.
That's exactly what they're doing. I gotta say, the one last thing I want to say about Blue Streak, I really don't like the name. And the reason I don't like the name is it makes me think of all those TV infomercials where they're like, just look at this cleaning power, and they pour that blue liquid all over stuff. And for some reason, the moment I heard the name, it made me think of that. Now I can't stop.
You know what I thought of was Japanese 2D fighting games.
Like BlazBlue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because BlazBlue it's like the same title.
It's like basically the same title. Cliffy B is basically making BlazBlue. That's what I learned.
It's an arena BlazBlue. It's
an
free to play.
An arena shooter.
Wait, was BlazBlue already free to play?
No.
Okay.
No, BlazBlue is a full release. It's an arcade title.
Oh. Okay.
But also got console releases.
Alright.
I like BlazBlue, actually. It's fun.
It looks good, yeah.
So yeah, we'll keep our eye on you, Cliffy B, Mr. Blazinski, and see what Blue Streak has to offer.
I really hope his shooter will just have lots of pecs in it.
Lots of pecs.
Lots of pecs.
I'm sure it will.
If those ladies don't have pecs, I'm going to be upset.
Lady pecs. So we got next Gearbox, and an upcoming game of theirs called Battleborn, which I have not actually heard of. Was this just recently announced, or am I just out of the loop?
Yeah, it was recently announced.
Okay.
I think it was announced the same day as the article that is from GameSpot.
So on the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might have been announced on the 8th.
Okay, but then, regardless. So what is Battleborn?
Oh, well, let me tell you.
Because you found this article, so I feel like you could tell me what Battleborn is.
Listen, Randy Pitchford.
My favorite guy.
Your favorite
I'm gonna bring that up after this.
Yeah. Randy Pitchford, his initial Twitter tweet about the game is like, it was so funny to read. Let me read it for you.
Please do.
Battleborn is, FPS, hobby grade co-op campaign,
Hobby grade?
genre blended, multi-mode competitive esports, mega growth, choice plus epic Battleborn heroes, !
The only thing missing from that is open world.
Yeah. No, so I read this.
The only thing missing from that is open world.
I read that and I was like, did a person write this, or did a computer that was designed to spew out buzzwords write
Seriously.
this?
And the only other thing they could have done is change choice to moral decisions, but there wasn't enough space for that. Deep morality
They're
system.
trying to...
Multiple endings.
We're maximizing our potential audience with this title.
Oh my god, for real.
So, let's break this down.
Based on that tweet, this sounds like garbage.
I know it does. It sounds really bad. Because, man, that tweet it's just so...
Ugh.
It's so heartless.
I know.
But yeah, so it's a first-person shooter. Hobby grade co-op campaign.
What does hobby grade mean?
I assume that's a shout out to Borderlands, because Borderlands is big on co-op and it's big on casual stuff.
Yeah.
So I assume that's what they're trying to allude to with that.
Like that it makes it that being hobby grade means that it's like casual?
I guess that's what hobby grade means.
I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
Instead of like professional?
But it's also professional because esports. But we're not there yet. So it's also genre blended, which, again...
That word, that means fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Again, that makes me think of Borderlands because it's an RPG shooter. So I assume this will have RPG elements in it.
Yes.
But he didn't say that. He just says genre blended, which again doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing. Every game is genre blended.
Multi-mode competitive esports. So you just told us that it was hobby grade, but it's also for competitive esports.
But it's also competitive esports.
Which is a contradiction.
Yes.
But,
well, we can see the full game. Maybe it'll make more sense.
Yeah, but it's multi-mode, so there's going to be different kinds of arena matches, I guess.
So
And then it's meta growth. I don't know what that means.
it means that it'll grow outside of just the game.
Oh no!
I don't know what that means either, but in this
I'll give you
context,
cancer.
it'll take you over. You will become Battleborn.
Choice plus epic Battleborn heroes. Okay, epic Battleborn heroes means nothing. Why did you throw that in there?
Because it's a name plug.
Yeah. And choice, I assume, also alludes to the RPG idea where you can customize your characters.
Yeah.
So
So people are saying that this is a highly stylized multiplayer shooter that people immediately likened to a MOBA game.
because it,
Sounds like a
I
MOBA.
don't think that's an unfair
No,
comparison.
but then Pitchford says MOBAs are fun, but Battleborn isn't really a MOBA, which is like, that's just marketing.
Yeah.
It's just him saying, well, it is a MOBA, but it's not because you'll be more interested if I say it's not.
It's the same thing as his original tweet where he's like, it's not just a MOBA.
Yeah.
It's so much
But
more.
see, it's going to have a deep narrative campaign featuring heroes, villains, twists, turns, and progression.
I mean,
The
it'll,
plot is actually going to progress in this game. What a revolutionary concept.
wow. I mean, maybe it'll have cool voice acting.
Every single thing he said about this is a buzzword.
Everything.
Everything. When
Randy-
people asked him questions, he just spewed more buzzwords
Randy
out.
Pitchford isn't a person.
I think he might be dead after the fiasco with Colonial Marines and they just replaced him with a machine.
Or maybe he was fired, and now they just have a machine.
Now they just have a machine called the Pitchford.
the Pitchford.
The Pitchford. It was made to pitch games, and it was designed by Ford.
Oh no!
Oh no!
No wonder it doesn't work so well.
I want to bring up, because they say even in this article, Battleborn is decidedly different than Gearbox's past body of work, which most recently included Aliens Colonial Marines in 2013 and Borderlands 2 in 2012. I want to talk about Aliens Colonial Marines briefly.
It was
in
bad?
this context. Because, yeah, basically, it was a non-functioning game, practically. It was awful. It was a hot mess of nothing after a long, long development cycle and like $60 million that was allegedly put into it by, I believe, Sega, who's funding it.
That makes sense because they're making the isolation game we're going to talk about later.
And I know why they're not asking Gearbox for help with it again. So when I first saw this article, when you sent this to me, my first thought was, Randy Pitchford still has a job? And the reason for that is, back when Aliens Colonial Marines came out, and it was garbage, after having like pretty strong showings at like the trade shows before the release, it came out that Randy Pitchford had siphoned most of the money they got for developing Colonial Marines into Borderlands 2. Which is illegal. That's like super illegal, breach of contract.
Seems kind of illegal.
That's like embezzling money. Because Borderlands was like his pet project. So like, he was like, I'm going to put all the money here. And regardless of how you feel about Borderlands, whether you like it or don't like it or whatever, like, that has no relevance here. Whether or not that money was a good thing for Borderlands 2. The fact of the matter is that this guy should have been fired.
So was it...
Or resigned.
Was it not proven? Because I feel
Maybe
like
it wasn't
Sony
proven?
because Sony didn't sue them, did they?
I don't believe so.
See, this is
But
why
I saw stuff. Randy Pitchford was talking about it on Twitter. Other people were talking about it. Like, it was all over the place when this happened. So I just don't get what happened, I guess. I feel like I just assumed he was gone. Because, like, and now it's just acting like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, Randy Pitchford, you're a scumbag. Like,
the Pitchford.
the Pitchford is such a scumbag, and this just makes me think that even more.
I want to do
So who are they going to embezzle money from to make this game?
themselves.
Themselves, apparently.
No, I kind of want to do.
I can't help but feel like he only still has a job because of some kind of nepotism. You know, friends in the industry who are just like, oh, keep you around, Randy, don't worry about it.
Maybe. Seems like a nice guy.
I mean, video game industry is so corrupt as is.
Oh no. I kind of want to do with our next episode, just look up a bunch of this stuff and see how it played out.
Let's touch base on this next week. Because I'm curious too, actually, like, to get if we can get the full story about it. or if it's been wiped from the internet somehow.
Stay tuned for our groundbreaking expose on the Pitchford.
60 minutes.
60 minutes?
Yeah, on the Pitchford. That's coming up. So here's a little thingy that I found that was published today. Sony is thinking about adding an early access program to the PlayStation 4, which has, is compared to Steam, which currently has their early access program where you can purchase games that are in development. And the idea is it helps the developers bring in money while they finish the game and gives the players a taste of what the game's going to be like when it's finally out and all of that stuff. And now I guess Sony wants to do that on their home console, potentially.
This makes sense.
What do you think about this?
Well, I think it makes sense given that they keep talking about how they're embracing indies, and they're showing it as well.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a huge boon for indies.
Yeah.
So that they would be doing this just seems like they're making good on that, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, the way Kickstarter games have been taking off and everything, too, it's clearly a thing.
Dude, everything on Kickstarter, even potato salad.
I feel like this started with Minecraft.
Yeah.
This whole thing, and then it moved on to Kickstarter games and Steam Early Access and all that stuff. Because Minecraft did something very different in that sense, where it was released in alpha, and people could buy it from the get-go for $10, and get every update from then on. But, yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Could be cool.
Yeah, it really just depends how they implement it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
The important thing they're talking about as well, Adam Boyes from Sony said in an interview, that's one of the massive conversations we have internally, that at what point does a game meet standards of release? We still at some point ensure that we're being mindful of the consumer. We don't want anybody to stumble across a title and expect a full product and have a negative experience. And that is an important thing with this. Because I haven't played Minecraft recently. I bought it when it was still way back in beta, way back in the day now. But I feel like Minecraft never really got finished.
Did it never get finished? Or were you supposed to finish it by creating the world?
Wow. Don't I feel dumb? No, I'm pretty sure it was never finished.
Oh, okay.
Or at least never finished to the ideas and specifications that it was originally planned to be. I feel like it hit a certain point where how much money it was making, and they were just like, oh, we made a bunch of money already, it's done.
They fabled?
They fabled.
I'm gonna start using that now. When a game doesn't live up to its original expectations, it fabled.
They pulled a Peter Molyneux.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I mean, that is an important thing, and
well,
I have seen a lot of people talk about that now, even with Kickstarter titles, even with Shovel Knight, there were some people complaining that it wasn't done when it was released, and I'm like, yeah, it's got stretch goal stuff that still has left to go, but that doesn't really matter, the full game is there.
Yeah.
And but there are other games that are not as complete as that are coming out under the same circumstances.
I think with early access stuff, I mean, the way it works with Steam, I think it's pretty fair to the consumer, where it's like, okay, you're getting this at significantly less money than you would be paying when it's released.
Right.
And you're getting updates, and you're getting plugged into what the developers are doing, and they're saying up front that no, this is not a finished game.
Yeah.
But it's still totally playable, and that seems fair to me. The other thing is that because we know that there's, and I really wish, because we always talk about how when people make games that are like other games, it's a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wish that Sony and Microsoft would do is just look at the models for selling stuff and just copy them, because it's like, okay, that's a case where it's totally okay to copy other people, because when you see what's working, just use that system.
Right.
So if Sony just copies Steam's system, be fine with it.
Right.
Because then it's just a console version of Steam, which is already kind of a console. I don't know.
Right.
Gabe Newell, I don't know. You're a weird guy. You're a visionary.
Seriously?
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Don't Copy That Floppy on chipit.net. This isn't Chipit music. Sorry. Dan, play a sound effect. We'll see if I hear it. Maybe it'll work.
Beep. Oh, you mean on the thing?
Yeah, no, don't make a sound effect with your voice piece.
I thought you wanted me to make Chip It music.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna play this one.
Pizza time.
Did you hear it?
I heard it, but I think it came out of your speaker. Never mind, we'll talk about this later.
So yeah, we're a very professional radio show on chipbit.net, as you can see.
We primarily do video game news.
Yes.
We're really bad at doing radio sound effects because we haven't figured it out yet.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Maybe if you keep listening, maybe you can hear the day when we finally get it right. Look forward to it.
Anyway,
and tweet rude things to us on Twitter until then.
So yeah, like us on Facebook, Don't Copy That Floppy. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF Podcast.
Yep.
And we're on Fridays from 7 till 8.
Yep.
So tune in to chipit.net then. And you can listen live.
And you got lovely chiptune music both before and after.
Exactly.
So plenty to enjoy.
We also, I think in probably the next couple of weeks, the Chipit site is going to be overhauled a little bit. It's going to look nicer. It's going to be a little prettier.
Yes. It's a work in progress right now.
And soon after that happens, we will be getting like an actual page on the website, and we will have a show archive.
Yes. So you can go back and listen to all of our things from every week, except for the couple times we didn't manage to record it.
Couple times. So what is this GameStop article we're
This
talking
GameStop
about?
article, I love GameStop articles. Sarcasm. This is a GameStop article on Polygon from July 8th, entitled, Why GameStop Wants to Get Involved in a Game's Development, which to me is a horrifying headline.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do that. Now, when you actually read this article, though, it is not them saying that they want to be an integral part of, making the game and choosing what's in the game. They're not asking for creative control.
Because that's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like, but I feel like that headline is just clickbait.
Polygon.
Polygon, no! But, what they're actually talking about is working more closely with their partners, so the studios that they frequently do pre-order incentives with and things like that, to get a longer lead time before release for setting up exclusive content and pre-order bonuses. So that doesn't sound bad. At the same time, I think it is bad on one hand because it means that it'll give GameStop even more leverage to muscle out smaller businesses that sell games by offering more exclusives than they already do. And at the same time, it will also, in my opinion, even though they're not saying it, I have a bad feeling that this also means that they will be much earlier in a game's development, picking and choosing segments of the game to reserve as DLC and pre-order content. And that I don't like.
Because this is the thing we had already been seeing that people have been very upset about.
There's been a lot of instances where content has been on the disc, and if you buy the DLC, all you're doing is unlocking that content.
And this sort
which
of
means
deal,
it was taken out ahead of time.
Yeah, and this sort of deal encourages more of that.
Yeah, because it will give them more time to do it. And that's not a fan. And of course they're not going to say that in any of the press releases about it, because they're not going to admit that ever. But this gives me a bad, bad feeling, because a lot of developers are partnered with GameStop in some way, too. I know Ubisoft is partnered with them in a big way for a lot of things. I mean, we saw in the past couple of years GameStop editions of various games as pre-order bonuses that came with GameStop exclusive content. This gives me a really bad feeling.
I mean, it's this stupid thing where...
I mean, things are bad enough. We don't need GameStop corporate nosing into game development at the same time as everybody else who's already nosing into it.
Yeah,
is doing it.
The game community has pretty much, as a whole, come out and said, "Listen, we don't like DLC.
Yeah,
we'd rather have less of that."
There's way more bad DLC than there is good DLC.
Yeah, and yet they're saying, "Okay, let's do a business practice in which we really emphasize DLC."
Yeah,
and I'm saying, man. I mean, the only way we're going to make them not do that is if people stop pre-ordering games.
Yeah, and stop buying those godforsaken season passes.
Yeah. I mean, then GameStop will definitely go out of business. It's already close. But
we can only hope. Are they doing that poorly?
Well, it's not. I don't think that they're doing that poorly. It's just the idea that everything's moving away from brick and mortar stores.
Yeah.
I don't have numbers in front of me. I shouldn't jump
Yeah.
to conclusions, but
Uh,
we know that the industry as a whole is moving away from
Yeah.
physical copies of games.
GameStop, please stay away from my video games.
Please.
So I wanted to bring that up because, well, it's something to watch out for, I guess.
Yeah.
And it'll be something to keep an eye on in the future to see if this does start happening. Like, how will it manifest itself? Like, what will we actually see? I am somewhat curious about that because I feel like they're gonna do it.
Speaking of DLC, though.
Yeah, here, you can take this one.
Segue.
Aliens Isolation.
Yeah. So, this is an article from IGN from July 9th. And it is all about the upcoming game, Alien Isolation, which I believe Sega is making.
Mhm.
And pre-order DLC that sounds really cool. It's just that it's pre-order DLC, which is kind of a bummer. But there's an errata on this at the end that I will get to. Alien Isolation, the idea behind this game, if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch the trailer. It's really short, but it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
The idea behind this game is you are on the ship that is in the original Alien movie
Yes.
from '79, and you're just trapped on the ship, and the alien is there, and it's a survival horror game.
Yep.
Why somebody didn't think to make this sooner is baffling to me.
Well, they were working on Colonial Marines.
Well, yeah, obviously. But it's one of
Making
those.
sure it was good.
I think it's one of those things where everyone's like, "Oh man, Slender Man, that's a really big deal. Everybody loves that. What if we just?"
Do you think it's you think it's coming from Slenderman?
Well, not directly, but I think it's
to some
because
degree.
that and what's the the game?
Outlast?
No, the second one's called Machine for Pigs.
Oh, Amnesia.
Amnesia, that's
Yeah.
the name of the franchise. And games like that, which, when you think about it, it's like, because in the Alien movie, it's like, you don't want to run to the alien, because you'll get killed.
It'll wreck you.
It'll wreck you. And the fact that we're seeing several games that are horror games that just use that sort of gameplay concept.
Yeah, now it's like, well, this is the perfect setting.
Yeah,
for it.
It's just like a brilliant idea. And a really great use of the Alien franchise, and we're finally moving away from shooters.
Yeah.
Because it never worked.
Not
as a
to
shooter.
say, Alien vs. Predator 2 on the PC, actually a pretty awesome game.
Okay.
But that's old at this point.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, like, there should be some non-shooters. But as far as shooters go, that game was actually very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could play as the aliens, or the predators, or the human marines. So there's
Just
lots of
like
variety
in
and cool
Alien
stuff.
Colonial Marines.
Yeah, but, good.
Yeah. Oh, no. So the pre-order DLC for Alien Isolation is they got together the entire cast from the original '79 film Alien,
Which is really cool.
except for Ian
Ian
Holm,
Holm, yeah.
because he was too big to do this video game.
Too big, being a goofy guy in The Fifth Element.
Yeah, he's being a hobbit right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, right now he's being a hobbit.
Or no, he's done, because he's not in the Hobbit movies. He was just in Lord of the
in
Rings.
Lord of the Rings as Bilbo.
So he's just done being a hobbit now.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing right now, but he's too good for this, apparently.
That's too bad.
I always think of The Fifth Element when I think of Ian Holm.
I mean, I've seen him in a ton of different things.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, so the entire rest of the cast, though, so we got Harry Dean Stanton, a bunch of people who I never heard of.
And Sigourney Weaver.
And Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
It's great.
Who doesn't want Ellen Ripley?
And she's like a much bigger star than Ian Holm is, I would argue. So
yeah, in some circles.
But anyway, so they all lended their voices to the game. They all have their really amazing characters within the game that look like them, and they're super well rendered.
So really cool.
And yeah, and the missions are just it's 2 missions that you get with the pre-order DLC, and it's just 2 different scenes from the movie that they made into missions.
Do you know which scenes?
Yeah, it says it in here. One is right after Harry Dean Stanton's character dies, when they're initially like, oh, we gotta kill this alien, and they got the flamethrowers and stuff.
When the chest burster comes out?
No, Harry Dean Harry Dean Stanton is the mechanic dude.
Okay, yes, okay, yeah, I forgot.
So it's like the alien bursts out, and then it's running around as a babby.
Yes.
And then it full grows, and then the first person it kills is a full-grown alien, is Harry Dean Stanton's character.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, it's right after they're like, "Oh, this is a problem."
Right.
And then the other mission is at the end when Ripley is like, self-destruct sequence activate. I could get off the ship.
Okay, so it's like a get off the ship before you get blown up.
Yeah, which sounds like a super fun mission.
Killed by the alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. You gotta get that cat and go.
Yeah, that cat. Oh,
you gotta get the cat.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, there's.
That's cool. Like, that's cool
really
DLC.
Cool. The bummer is that it's pre-order DLC.
Yes. So you must pre-order the game.
Or you can't play those missions.
You can't play those missions, in theory.
In theory. But because everyone's like, oh, these sound amazing, it's a huge bummer that these are pre-order. That Sega announced like 6 hours ago that they are going to be like, okay, so if you pre-order the game, you get this DLC right away.
Yeah.
But if you want to wait, I don't know if they gave a timetable. I assume it's like a month or something.
Yeah. They just say at a later date.
Yeah, it'll probably be like a couple of months. They'll release that pack as DLC that you can download.
Right.
So everybody's happy, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually a like good use of DLC.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is not any of the main missions of the game.
Yes.
It's really just a cool extra thing.
What I'm wondering is when it is released later, how much will it cost?
That's a good question.
Because that'll be a big determiner on how I feel about this as DLC.
My assumption is not that much because they originally didn't plan on releasing it later.
Yeah.
So they already didn't think they were going to make that money off of it later.
So I'm hoping it's not too expensive. Because if they already got a lot of complaints about it being pre-order exclusive, if they made it expensive, that would only lead to more people complaining about it.
Definitely.
I want to throw in a little aside here that I didn't find an article about it, but I wanted to bring it up. On, I believe, the 22nd of July, so a little under 2 weeks now, because we're on the subject of DLC, the first of the 3 Dark Souls 2 DLC packs will be releasing. Crown of the Sunken King.
Well, you can give us your review on that when you play it.
Because I am absolutely going to play it. I played the Dark Souls 1 DLC and thought it was great. That was like a really robust DLC pack. And it was stuff that was developed post-game development. So it wasn't just like, ripped out of the original title or anything. And I believe... I'm not sure if that's the same with these Lost Crowns DLC packs. Given the short turnover to get to them, I would assume they were in development alongside the game. So I don't really know how I feel about that. Although the game itself, I got my $60 worth. So as long as these are lengthy, I believe they're $10 each. So as long as these are several hours long each, I'm good with it.
Cool.
I'll feel okay with it. So I'll probably do a review of that once I give it a shot.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to that, audience.
Woo!
And if you're just tuning in, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. If you're just tuning in now, this is an internet video game radio show news thing. I really botched that.
Good job.
Great job.
A+.
We're
10 out of 10. Pretty good.
We are Don't Copy That Floppy. We're on Chipbit Radio on chipbit.net. You can listen to us on the website or download a file to listen to us in iTunes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Don't Copy That Floppy and DCTF Podcast, respectively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check us out. Keep listening if you feel like it right now, or come back in 20 minutes and you can listen to Chiptune music.
If you're like, man, I really wish I wasn't hearing these guys, just come back in 20 minutes. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. So let's move on to more DLC and pre-order news. This time we're talking about The Evil Within. This, I think, is actually really interesting. So The Evil Within is a survival horror game coming out soon, October 26th in Japan. I don't know if we have a date for... in October 21st in North America. So it's actually coming out here first. Now, this game is by some of the Resident Evil people. It looks pretty cool. It's going to be very gory and gruesome.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of buzz about it because it's got a great development team and because it's just the trailers are very shocking.
Yeah, they seem pretty cool. It's also got a very cool gameplay idea in it where you can choose to play either with guns, with traps, or with no way of dealing with the enemies besides running, I believe. So you have 3 different modes you can choose to play in that drastically change how you handle the monsters in the game, which I also think is really neat. Now, the Japanese version of the game, in Japan the game is called Psycho Break, by the way, which is a much more Japanese title. So, in Japan, this game's goriness and brutality got it rated on the Sero rating system, a Z, which makes it for ages 18 and up. So you can think about it like adults only.
Yeah.
For the ESRB equivalent. Now, for most games around here, adults only is pretty much a death sentence. You get an adults only rating, and nobody will carry your game. Mm-hmm. So you need to dial it back. In Japan, I haven't heard of this being a problem as often, although it may be more than I think. But in this case, they did not want that rating, the Z rating, to hinder their sales of this game. So what they've done is they've cut the content, the graphic content in the game down to make it a D rating, which is like the equivalent of mature, in Japan, and are including the Gore Mode DLC as a pre-order bonus, which will restore the game to its original uncensored glory. This is weird.
It is weird.
It's really weird that your pre-order bonus is an uncensored game.
But does that mean that when you pre-order it, it has an adults-only rating?
Yes.
So only adults can
well,
pre-order
actually,
it.
maybe?
Because if not, then that's a really interesting loophole that they found.
It seems that decision to cut the game to meet lower Japanese ratings was due to sales. This in turn would limit sales when both Sero D and Sero Z versions passed the ratings test. So both games' versions passed. So I feel like Z is not as extreme a thing in Japan as the adults-only thing is over here. Because they both passed and they were both going to be sold. I believe the Z would mean it would be sold in the same fashion as hentai games, basically, in Japan.
Sense, yeah.
Like pornographic video games. So it would perhaps limit where they could sell it as well. But yeah, that is kind of an interesting loophole, because it seems like it is a loophole. Because them releasing it as DLC is a way to incentivize players who want the full viscera-drenched experience to pre-order. So, yeah, that is really odd.
Yeah, so it's like...
So you don't have to be that old
to pre-order.
It seems like it's less an issue of whether or not people would be able to pre-order it, and more of an issue that there are people who don't want to play a Z-rated title. I feel like that's where the issue's coming from here, for them. Is they just didn't want there to be people put off by it, but who still wanted to play the game.
Well, no, so isn't the issue in the US, when you have an adults-only, as you said, stores don't carry it?
No.
But it doesn't mean there isn't player interest.
No.
So...
Very few games have ever been rated that high in the US either, though.
Yeah.
And most of them were Japanese porn games that got brought over here for one reason or another, if you look up the list.
So, if... But in Japan, it might not be as big a deal where, you know, stores will still carry it.
Yes.
So it can still get to consumers.
Yes. Based on my time in Japan, they're not nearly as uptight about selling extreme-rated content of any kind in most stores. Like, some of the bookstores I went to just flat out have, like, a pornography section, with very little dividing it from the rest of the store. So that's not nearly as much of a cultural problem for them as it is for us. So, yeah, this just kind of is weird to me.
But I really want to know what they're going to do, how the American version is going to be rated,
yes.
Especially if this comes out first in America.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, wait, there is more in the article, actually, about that. So the game will play the same with or without Gore Mode. Core experience remains unchanged, that makes sense.
Okay.
The DLC will make Japan's edition of the game more closely resemble that of its overseas non-censored version.
Oh, so we're getting the
So
regular
we are
one.
getting the uncensored version.
See, this is...
And I speculated, actually, before we recorded that maybe Japan has more of a problem with gore in the game, in gaming, than the US does.
Yeah, though that's one of the
Because
things.
we have a big problem with sex and stuff over here.
And the Japanese don't care as much about that.
No, not at all. Or at least not in the same way.
Japanese don't care if they're naked people. They just care if people are getting slaughtered.
I know,
What's
what a
wrong
bunch
with
of
them?
What a bunch of weirdos.
America really has its priorities in the right place.
Definitely. I don't want any boobs in the evil within.
So we're, I guess that means that we're just getting the full gore
Yeah,
experience.
so this is just a Japan thing. Which makes it almost even weirder to me.
Oh, Japan.
What a bizarre thing. And I wonder if this will set a precedent now. I wonder if this will make other people follow suit. And possibly make more extreme games in Japan and do this same idea of dialing it back and then making it an optional download pack.
I mean, I could see it because this is definitely going to be, or maybe it won't be successful, but I have a feeling that this game is going to be very successful.
It's getting a fair amount of talk about it, and it looks good. Like, I know people both overseas and here are excited for it.
So I think that,
I'm looking forward to it.
Just because it's such a high-profile game, I could see
Yeah.
it setting a precedent like that.
Yeah, so that might be interesting to see.
Totally.
Maybe it means we can get some adults-only games over here in the States. I'm being as skeevy as I can, rubbing my hands together.
Your sweaty, clammy hands.
A little bit of drool going on. But probably not.
But probably not.
Hey, a Kotaku article
Oh, Kotaku.
from Tuesday. I like how they don't give a date.
It's just Tuesday.
The
Maybe if it's
8th.
more than a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a Kotaku article from the 8th. It's about Destiny. Some Bungie fans feel betrayed.
I really wish this ad of a worm coming out of a woman's eye was not on the side of the page here.
It's really gross.
That's super gross. Thanks, Kotaku.
So some Bungie fans feel betrayed about Destiny's PlayStation perks.
Yes.
This is a hilarious article because it's about people on the internet being whiny.
We need to talk about gamer entitlement with this
gamer
article.
entitlement. So, okay. As many of you probably know, Bungie was a studio made famous for making the Halo games.
Yep. They made Marathon before that.
But nobody played that.
I did.
It's fine. Nobody played
The
it.
game scared me when I was little.
They also made this really cool game that had, like, close combat fighting in it.
Yes.
That I played a little bit of that was really fun, actually.
Hmm.
And I totally don't remember its name, but
Oni.
that's fine. Oh, yeah, that was it.
Yep, with the anime girl.
Yep.
Yep.
That was cool.
Oni was cool.
But anyway, they became known for making Halo.
Yes.
Because
they were the saviors of Xbox.
Yeah. So they and Xbox has had Halo pretty exclusively and continues, even though Bungie is no longer making the Halo games because those have been handed off to another studio.
Yes.
So after they were handed off to another studio, Bungie went and said, "Okay, we're gonna figure out our next big title,"
Right.
and their next big title is Destiny,
Which kind of looks like Halo.
Which yes, it looks like Halo a little bit. But Peter Dinklage is in it.
Well, now we're in business. Now we're cooking with gas.
What was his quote that got printed on a t-shirt? "This wizard came from the moon."
What?
You didn't hear about that?
No.
Oh, it's a whole separate thing where the voice acting in Alpha, specifically for Peter Dinklage, is like really wooden and bad. And there's one line in particular where he says, I don't remember the context that leads into it, but he ends up saying, "That wizard or this wizard came from the moon." And everyone just started like posting memes of it because it was just like really goofy.
I have not been following Destiny closely enough.
But Bungie was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It's goofy," and they released like a T-shirt that had that quote on it.
Great.
Which was like a really good reaction actually, because they were like, "Yeah, our bad. We should have used a better version of that line, but we're being good sparks about it."
And they can make money off of the meme swell.
Yeah. So it was a win-win-win.
Before everybody forgets about it in 2 weeks and doesn't wear that shirt ever again.
Yep.
Good for them.
Because as soon as like in a year, no one's gonna know what that was.
No.
Having that shirt
a year is generous.
Yeah. Having that shirt's a bad idea. Don't buy
Doge.
that shirt.
Nobody talks about Doge anymore.
Oh man, Dogecoin. I love Dogecoin.
So
anyway, what am I getting at?
I don't know.
Myself.
People are really butt frustrated because apparently Destiny's getting some Sony content.
Now Destiny is going to be released on everything.
Yes.
Well, not Wii U.
Whatever, I have Wonderful 101.
So, Destiny's going to be released on a bunch of stuff. So, it's actually way more all-inclusive than Halo ever was.
Yeah.
But all of the Bungie fans, or the majority of the Bungie fan base, are all
Xbox people,
users,
which makes sense.
And there's all these things with Destiny where it's not a PlayStation exclusive, as I said, but if you, at first glance, you might think it is, because when we saw the E3 Sony press conference, what game did they lead with? They led with Destiny.
Yeah.
And we have the alpha is PlayStation only. The beta will launch on both Xbox and PlayStation, but it will launch on PlayStation first. And then I assume when the game actually comes out, it'll probably launch on PlayStation first.
Yeah.
Maybe by like a week or something.
Who
I'm sure there
knows?
won't be that big a window. There's also some console-exclusive content like maps, a mission, special items that'll come out on the PlayStation. But again, that's like not a huge deal. It's just like kind of like, okay, so PlayStation users do get like some extra bonus stuff. And part of this makes sense because if you know the history, Bungie made Halo, made Microsoft a lot of money, they made Halo 2, and then Microsoft started being like, hey, you need to make more Halo games. Chop chop, we own you, make more Halo games.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that actually led to a very poisonous relationship because Bungie kept being rushed with all of these games they had to make that were all Halo games and they couldn't work on any other projects. And is probably the main reason why they said, okay, have somebody else take the Halo franchise. We're going to go off and do our own thing. We don't want it anymore. So the idea that now they're like best buds with PlayStation and they're trying to distance themselves from Xbox is like, in that context, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No. But people feel betrayed.
People feel super betrayed. So I'm going to read you the first of this. There are a bunch of different thread posts. The first one is particularly long,
more
but
dramatic
sums up,
than the last.
Yeah, the first one is particularly long, but probably the most reasonable and sums up pretty much everything. So this is from Ghost of Marty, which is great. This is great. And he writes, not only has Destiny been about PlayStation almost exclusively, not only have they continued to receive more for their money, but just look at who is getting this said exclusivity. We have the Xbox users, longtime Bungie fans, dedicated, the main flesh and blood of the Bungie community. We're being excluded from recognition from everything we've given you. This is your repayment to us.
Jesus Christ.
When we ask for answers from you, PlayStation users act aggressive towards us and rub it in our faces. But he didn't say what their response was. Okay. When we express that we don't like being treated this way, PlayStation users tell us to get over it and stop complaining. When we ask why we get less for our money, which is exactly the same as the second question, you ignore us. PlayStation users say it's fair. When we even try to maintain a reasonable and loyal community, you lie to us. Give childish brats that never belonged here more of everything and do nothing while they walk all over us with disrespect, unhealthy rudeness, and ruin not only our forum, our community, but our ability to enjoy these games. These are the people deserving of all your resources? That's very low. Go ahead, continue down this road. It will be the thing that kills off what was a great community, or what was a great company to a great community.
Thank you, Ghost of Marty. Or should I say, the Martin Luther King Jr. of Xbox.
Oh no.
Seriously. Like, seriously. Somebody typed this? This makes it sound like this is like slavery or women needing the right to vote. Like, this sounds like everything we're hearing about people complaining about equal rights, like gay marriage, all that stuff. But it's about freaking extra maps on PlayStation?
And that's when you boil down to it.
Are you freaking crazy?
When you boil it down, what are they losing?
Who's the childish brat here?
I know, right?
Boo-hoo-hoo! I don't get the Sony maps!
And that's, yeah,
Like,
when you boil it down, that's
does
the
this person
only thing
understand that there are
Xbox-
real problems in the world? Oh my god!
That's the only thing that Xbox users are losing. They're losing a couple of maps,
Yeah,
a mission,
yeah.
and some items.
Oh no! And
And-
based on pre-order stuff, most of those are probably going to be crappy anyway.
And what evidence do you have that Bungie lied to you?
Ghost of Marty needs to, like, go to Congress and work on some of our socio-political issues. He's wasting his talents here.
And then he's always like, you lied to us, and all the Sony people are being mean to us. And I'm like, yeah,
boo-hoo.
it turns out people on internet forums aren't very nice to each
Yeah,
other.
and it
Grow
turns
up.
out that they're going to make fun of you when you type things like this.
Yeah, because you're obviously
Because you're being a huge
doofus.
drama queen.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
So this is just stupid, basically.
they're getting less for their money. No, they're system exclusives, which AAA titles have been having for a really long time.
I want to talk briefly, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to talk briefly about gamer entitlement. That a lot of people in the video game community nowadays feel that they are entitled to certain things with certain games. And I think that this is a perfect example of unjustified entitlement. Sometimes entitlement is justified. Like with DLC that was removed from a game before its release, and then they make you pay for it. That's justified. I think, yeah, you are entitled to get that for free because it was part of the original game, which you paid for. This, however, is a pre-order bonus, and it's nothing significant, it's nothing earth-shaking, and you just feel like you are somehow this company is betraying you because they're doing a business practice you don't agree with? Like, it's their company, they run it the way they want, and, like, unfortunately, you kind of just have to deal with it. Like, they're not there to pander to you, no matter how much you want them to.
And you're still gonna get the game.
And you're still getting the game.
They're still okay. So
This
article
reminds me of all the people who are mad that Bayonetta 2 is a Wii U exclusive. That has been known for 2 years now that game is a Wii U exclusive. And every time new news about Bayonetta 2 comes out, you get Xbox and PlayStation people coming out of the woodwork to complain about how it's not on their console and tell Platinum Games that they're garbage and that they're traitors. Newsflash. The reason it's not on Xbox and PlayStation is because nobody wanted to fund it for those. That game wouldn't be getting made at all if Nintendo hadn't picked it up and made it an exclusive. And nobody seems to get this. Like, we are only getting a Bayonetta sequel because it's on the Wii U.
Yeah.
It was literally this or nothing. So, like, where does this entitlement come from? How, like, these people are children. They don't understand how the world works.
Well, they might literally be children.
And some of them may literally be
which,
children.
which might be fair.
Yeah, but still.
But they ended the article with a quote from Bungie, which is totally reasonable. They say, "Who's ignoring you? We're right here, making a game we'll hope you'll love. We're listening to your questions and answering the ones we can. If you're a gamer who wants to play a Bungie game, you're very much on our mind every day." Yeah, and also there was the I don't know if it's loading on my computer, but the comments section of this. The first comment is like the perfect thing I've ever read, because it just sums up why the Xbox people should really shut up. And it says, Xbox people are getting a whole lot more of Destiny than PlayStation people ever got of Halo. And I was like, yeah, they are. Because it's coming out on both consoles.
Wow.
So, geez, guys, you suck. Although I encourage listeners to check out this Kotaku article, that some Bungie fans feel betrayed about Destiny's PlayStation perks from July 8th. Because, man, reading all those quotes, I mean, we only read you the first really long one, but there's so many. And man, they're so funny. Like, they're ridiculous, but they're also kind of funny.
So, the last thing that I would like to talk about, there's not really any upcoming game releases worth mentioning.
Yeah, we're going way over. We had too many articles.
Yeah, I really want to talk about Project Spark super briefly, though, because you and I talked about how we thought it was just a marketing sham, and that nothing will really come of it. So Project Spark got announced that it will be coming out in October. It is actually releasing, so we both have to eat our hat and deal with it. early October. So October 7th in the Americas, October 9th in the Asia-Pacific territories, and Europe on October 10th. The retail version of the game for Xbone will be $39.99 and is called the Project Spark Starter Pack, which includes a collection of premium in-game content. A lot of this, I don't know what this means in this context. This includes the first sci-fi pack, Galaxy's First Contact, Champion's Quest Voidstorm, the hero Sir Hakon Hawk the Knight, and the first episode of an epic campaign adventure developers have planned for the title.
Actually, okay, wait.
So this sounds like a bunch of DLC all crammed together into one game.
No, it does, but the way they might be going with this, which totally makes sense to me and actually makes me think this is a viable game.
Okay.
So Spark is like you make your own game. That's the idea. But one of our big concerns was, okay, so either you have to know how to code, or it's going to have pre-made stuff, and then everything's going to look super the same. So my hope for this, and probably won't be exactly what it is, but one way this could actually work, right, is that it's an engine that if you know how to code, you can code it. Otherwise, you can download these packs, and these say, like, this is like an RPG pack, so here's a bunch of the RPG coding and some little doodads and things that you can use to make your world, and textures and palettes and stuff that are all pre-made for you. And then if there's a bunch of different packs for a bunch of different genres and types of games, okay, that seems reasonable to me. And then if you play around with that, or maybe you can start mixing, matching packs later on after you've gotten a lot of them, or just as you learn the system better, like, that's actually a way they could set up this game that would be really cool, actually.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any real coding potential in the game. I have a feeling it's going to kind of be like The Sims, and that you are given a bunch of stuff, and you build with that. And well, the fact that they specifically name a character makes me think there are going to just be set characters in the game as well. Like, I don't know.
Listen,
I don't
Dan,
trust it.
You came off super negative about this to begin with, and I agreed with you, and then we were already wrong once. So I'm going to start giving this game the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, I'm going to continue to be pessimistic about it.
Okay. Good cop, bad cop.
Project Spark, do your worst.
My interest is slightly piqued. I want to hear more news about it.
I do want to hear more news, and I want to see some actual gameplay and see what the real extent of the customization is. Until I see that, I'm kind of... It does say here that the beta is available through the Xbox One Marketplace and Windows 8 Store. But I'm not gonna get Windows 8 just so I can check it out.
And you're not gonna plug in your Xbox.
I don't have an Xbone.
Oh, you don't have...
I have a 360.
Yeah, you have a 360.
So I have no way of even checking it out.
Okay.
So, great.
Yeah, we're totally out of time.
We're super out of time.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. You can talk about Broforce next week, maybe?
I will.
Yes.
So tune in next week. I'll talk about Broforce. We're going to do an expose on Randy Pitchford. And I'm also hoping that we'll have some updated information on Super Time Force's Steam release.
Yes.
Hopefully we will find something on that.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening again. This has been Don't Copy That Floppy, a weekly internet podcast.
See, it's hard to remember all of it.
Yeah, about video game news. I'm your host, Lex.
I'm Dan.
We talk about new releases. We talk about all sorts of different news. We talk about the console war, the ongoing epic struggle.
Epic struggle.
And we do it Fridays from 7 till 8. We ran a little over today.
Yep.
And you can check us out on Facebook. Don't Copy That Floppy. Or you can check us out on Twitter at DCTF Podcast.
And remember, everybody, don't copy that floppy.